Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred.
All right. Welcome to Truth Forum, a forum to discuss truth in the friendly surrounding like we do at home at the kitchen table. I'm your host, Dr. Smith. I will lead compelling, relatable, and honest conversation. My guests will range from community leaders, professionals, and real people whose stories will touch and inspire you. Discussion will center around relationships, real stories of personal struggles, and amazing, triumphant, and compelling topics in the news and even pop culture that capture our cities and nation's attention. If you'd like to be a guest at the kitchen table, call us at our office at 269-962-5553 or email us at kingdombuildersworldwide2@gmail.com. Before I introduce my guest today, Pastor Todd and Brother Ronnie Hoyt and Sister Marla Howlett, also my co-host Doug Jones, I'd like to thank God and thank you for being a faithful audience during this time. Also, my producer Carl English and Mike Campbell, Facebook Live crew, Mike Bowden, camera, Kara Bowden, Callie Williams, and also our program coordinator, Kara Bowden. I think I said Williams. All right, I want to share some things that are extremely essential. If we're going to be successful, we have to learn to network, talking to one another. That whole concept came from what they did in the village of Africa and on the continent of Africa and Kemet, where men and women came together and the fathers sat down and shared their story. But that's what we're doing today. We're at the kitchen table where we're going to share and discuss things that will be beneficial to you. Again, I thank God for all of you. Let's introduce again and applaud everyone. Pastor Todd, Ronnie Hoyt, Mara Howlett, and my co-host Doug Jones. Let's give it up here. All right. We are just excited about this show today. And this is a very spontaneous show. They were not planned. They were not prepared. So it's going to come right off the cuff. We're really going to talk about what we're planning on doing at Kingdom Builders Worldwide. These are individuals who I feel play a major role in the success of the vision and the dream. I believe they can bring something to the table that will be very helpful to you as our guests. So before I do anything, I'd like to introduce my guests and want them to just kind of give us maybe a 30-second intro of who they are, even though most of you all know them. They've been on the show more than once before, but just introduce yourself again, starting from my right.
Okay, my name is Ronald Hoyt. I am a kingdom builder, father of 2, grandfather of 3. That's it.
All right, Marla.
And I am Marla Howlett. I also go to Kingdom Builders. I have 2 daughters and I have 6 grandchildren. And I think I'll be a big help with the whole scope of what Kingdom Builders is going to do.
Wonderful. I'm Todd. I am a former Calhoun County Commissioner, currently the one of the vice chairs for the Michigan Republican Party. Married, 3 beautiful daughters here in the city of Battle Creek. And other than that, I'll save the rest for later. Appreciate it.
And Douglas Jones, born and raised Battle Creek, father of 3, grandfather of 2, and neighbor of Todd.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to throw some things out, and then I'm going to kind of pull some of you all in by utilizing your skills and your background. But I was thinking about the fact that the things we do for our children, all of us in here have children, some of you have grandchildren, and with them has a huge impact on them for the rest of their lives. Okay, so what we do for our children has a huge impact on the rest of their life. But not only our children are impacted, their children and their grandchildren are impacted as well. So additionally, every person your child interacts with in relationships of any kind will affect by the value you give your children when they are young. So with that said, one thing our children deserve is a shot at excellence. I think we all agree with that.
Yes, yes.
When somehow equates that sometimes we as African Americans or black or whatever we want to call ourselves equates to mediocrity, our whole community loses. When we are looked at as just mediocrity, average, our whole community loses, as well as our children. How do we keep that standard high? And I really want to ask everybody. I want to hear, with that statement, starting from my co-host and just follow through, how can we keep the standard high for our children so they don't just kind of blend in mediocrity? And if you want to add why you think we're mediocrity, tell us what you think, because this is an open show and your experiences is going to be very helpful for the World Wide Web and also the community. Doug.
Well, I think first you just can't give up on raising your kids or your grandkids. You have to consistently, guide, teach, and direct them, and just don't give up. Raising kids, passing on things to them. It takes everybody. It's not just one. It's not just the parents. It's the grandparents. It's the aunts. It's the uncles, and it's other influences in their lives.
Okay, Terry, what do you think?
In reference to mediocrity or mediocrity or whatever, I think the standard has to be held even before you conceive a child. You have to plan. You have to have a plan when you have children, and most importantly, when you do have them, you got to also make for sure that their environment is one that demands that they, rise to the occasion of excellence. Rewarding them for when they've achieved certain things, but then also comfort them when they may have missed a mark here or there. And like what Doug was saying, it does take everyone around. It takes the entire community to be able to make that happen. And even our standard that we set for the schools, man. With me also being the director of Head Start here in Calhoun, Berry, and also St. Joseph County, I think our standard, even when they enter into early childhood education, and what we expect out of our teachers and administrators, stuff like that, I think that has to be included in there as well, because those are the ones that's going to be with our children throughout the day. So we not only expect that from our child, but we also expect that from the administrators and everyone that's around them. And so with that being said, parents have to be deeply involved. One of the trends that I've seen in education is that we tend to fall off when they reach middle school around there, and even in the high school with going to conferences and stuff like that. Because right now with technology, it allows us to check their grades from a distance on our phone and stuff like that, instead of literally going into the building, sitting down, having a professional conversation and meeting their teachers, So I think staying involved all the way through, your child needs you all the way through, even till adulthood, I told my daughters, I said, bottom line is that, they know what I expect educationally, and they've been performing as such. So all three of my daughters are AB students, occasional C every now and then, but they know the standard. The Bible says train up a child. So when you talk about training, with training comes some grit and grind, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be easy, but you're training them, So with that being said, I think parents have to understand the concept of what it means to train them. And so when you train them for excellence, then that's the way they'll go.
Okay, Marla, thank you.
Well, I think things have changed as such as sayings. Like, I remember growing up, someone said, well, I don't care what people think of me. Well, I think you should care what people think of you. And with that, you would try to project positivity and try to tell your children, hey, when you leave a room, you want things to be said about you positive, not how you walked in there looking not appropriate for where you're going. And also, I do tell my daughters, when you're out, you represent me, and when I'm out, I'll represent you.
Right.
I don't want,
That's true.
none of my friends, coming up to me telling, oh, I seen your daughter doing this and doing that, and I know you wouldn't want your friends coming up to you saying, oh, I saw your mom, being this way or that way. So just want excellence for yourself and pride in yourself, and just instill pride in your children, and that will project, I believe, in what they give out to the community.
Okay. I was thinking the biggest way to avoid mediocrity with your children is to be involved. For me, with my kids, I was involved. If they had a project, I had a project. Whatever they, I checked all the grades. I know all the teachers. I'm constantly at school.
Yeah.
You got to be involved. You can't just, back in my day, I was getting good grades, so no one ever checked on me. You can't do that anymore. You got to get involved. You got to, and also encourage. Everything is not going to come easy. I always tell my kids, don't give up. Do your very best. Do the very best that you can do, and then after that, we'll get a tutor. But don't give up. So encouragement is also key.
There was something that you said, Pastor Todd, and I think we all may want to take a shot at this because it's so true. But the reality is I'm not going to say it's too late. What happens when we're not planning children? And these children are coming into the world. And many are coming with fathers not in the home. And I know you hear that all the time on the show, but that's a major challenge. And we got to address that. So I think what Pastor Todd was trying to tell everybody is we got to somehow, how do we start getting the young people to stop getting pregnant? I mean, if you all had a data, if you're watching me today, if you can Google it, what's the percentage of your first pregnancy you marry that man?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's just something, all of you that love to Google it, I'm just curious. And if you decide to respond, the guy that is doing the Facebook would look at it, we'll talk about it. What is the percentage? Because that's the conversation that parents, moms need to have with their children.
Yes.
Okay, this boy you with,
That's right.
that you unfortunately sleeping with, if you get pregnant,
Yes, sir.
what's the odds of him marrying you?
Right. That's right.
I mean, that's just something we should think about. So I think that's important. It's kind of hard to do what we're all saying when it already starts off bad. Okay, so if you had a magic wand, Doug, how could you slow up this teen pregnancy? I don't have the data in front of me, but how would you slow down the teen pregnancy? And Marla, you being the only female on the panel, is there any truth to getting pregnant because you want to be loved? Is there truth to that? All of us hard-nosed brothers on here may not have even an answer to that, but I've heard that on many shows that some young girls get pregnant because they want to love something. Is there any truth to that? Can you add to that?
Well,
And then my passionate brothers, may be able to answer it too.
well, as far as it being truth to it, I wouldn't see any truth to it. I'll just say, in my opinion, I wouldn't see any truth to it, because to be seeking someone to love, you have to first love yourself. So if you're loving yourself, then you would put into perspective, well, I love myself, so before I do bring someone into this world, I have to have things right. I have to have things in perspective. I have to have things ready for this child to come into this world.
But how do we talk like a 70? See, we're all talking like 50-plus-year-olds, or 40-plus-year-olds.
All right, help somebody.
Okay. But I'm talking about a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
How do you? A 14-year-old may not even be watching the show right now. It's a bunch of us old folks talking. How do you get that 14-year-old? Parents, if you're listening, if you're watching, what can we do to help that 14-year-old? Because it's happening, DJ.
If I had the ability to change the world, if you could show that 14-year-old young man what his life would be like if he was to, sleep with a young lady and she had a child, the things that he would have to do and the steps he'd have to take,
There you go.
and the things that would happen, whole life would change. I think if you would show him a 1-hour movie about his life. In the future.
This is your life.
This is your life.
This is your life.
And if I could do that, I would do that and it would make him change. But unfortunately, things don't work that way. I think a lot of it is just education. If you could convince them without showing them the future, tell them this is what, or talk to somebody who's been there. Somehow get those kids early, get them early at an early age, because all the young kids are curious. And there's so many influences out there now that influence them to want to have sex before marriage, or to want to have sex at a young age. There's so much out there right now, but somehow to shift that mentality, to change the way they think, expose them to something else. And if I could just expose them to their life in the future, if you do this, then that would be a great thing.
We may have time to discuss this, and we may not, because I can tell this is going to be an exciting show. It's already getting excited. But Pastor Todd, he is he was part of our ministry when we were all here in Battle Creek under my brother, and he received the anointing and the calling. That's why we address him as Pastor Todd. Also, he has served in political arenas, and I'm going to share this later, but he and I may be on different sides from a political perspective, and really be honest about it, I'm not really on the side anymore. I'm coming from a block perspective, but right now he is a Republican doing a great job, and as a character, man, I support him. So as a Republican, I'm going to ask him a question regarding how do we, Mr. Todd, deal with the fact that I know the Republicans struggle with, providing condoms and providing prevention methods in the schools and all that. But we're all sitting here saying, as Doug would say, having that child could end up being a bad thing. Of course, we're not advocating aborting, all those kind of things.
Right.
What is the agenda, or I don't really want to say the agenda. How would you address encouraging your child not to get involved, but at the same time, I don't want condoms in the school? How you mix that up? How can you do that, if possible?
Well, from my perspective, Bishop, and pretty much, I guess it's pretty much a common thread amongst a lot of the circles that I'm in right now, we're conservative, and so we have to look at the data, and the data shows us that those who come from two-parent households are least likely to get involved in premarital sex and having children and dropping out, and so the data is all there. So one of the things that we try to do is encourage the fact that the importance of having mother and father in a child's life, because they are less likely to go down that path in the first place. I think
but I got that, Pastor.
Right.
But we're saying, what about those that's already like that? We have a plethora of people that's single parenting homes.
Yeah, that's true.
We have a plethora of children that's probably having sex before their marriage, and we don't want them to have a child.
Yeah. So, one of the things too, I guess I'm kind of like along the same lines as Doug, because I've heard that same story. That's why I hit him on the leg as far as if you could literally educate them about their life, because what's happening now in the schools, in particular, they're trying to silence the importance of abstinence. Instead, they're basically saying, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and that's kind of like the direction that some of them are going. So, in other words, because they're involved anyway, then we just might as well go ahead and give them condoms and, allow them to abort and stuff like that. And so that's been the message. We don't want them to go that route. The hopeful thing is that they would be more, I guess, responsible individuals, teaching them how to be more responsible with their body and set boundaries and stuff like that. And that's why I can kind of agree with DJ was saying. If you can literally show them a picture or flash their life in front of them and say, hey, these are the responsibilities. And unfortunate too, Bishop, let me add this. Unfortunately, some have that picture in front of them, and they still go down that path.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But ultimately, at the end of the day, you still got to love them. You still got to embrace them. You still got to pray that, you know, that was a learning tool, and that way they will learn from their experience or their mistake, and then not make that same mistake again.
Okay,
You know,
okay,
so unfortunately, I mean, there's nothing, no silver bullet out there, no policy, none of that, you know. And I think that's why some have actually gone to the other side and say, well, they're going to do it anyway because all these, you know, social media, you got movies, you got music that's encouraging all this stuff, you know, so they're going to do it anyway. Well, why don't we at least just give them some protective measures so that way they don't end up pregnant? And see, one of the things that gets lost in that, they're not talking about sexually transmitted diseases. So it's almost like getting pregnant is like the worst of everything, but what about diseases you can't get rid of that and take your life, you know what I mean? So they kind of hide that stuff, you know what I mean? So that's some of the things politically, or I guess from a moral standpoint, we try to attack as well.
And we're not endorsing either side, we're just having this conversation. So I think we all agree that we should try to set high standards.
Absolutely.
Keep them constantly learning, okay? Teach value of hard work. I think that's huge. And give them the gift of financial intelligence. I think all that, and then give them a chance to win. So I think we're good on that. I share this scripture all the time in the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 1. It says, the former treaties have I made, O Theophilus. All of that Jesus begun both to do and teach. Kingdom Builders is about doing versus talking. And I think the brothers and sisters on this panel, we want to do. Kingdom Builders Worldwide want to serve community, okay? We want to have a community center for health services. We've had folks on here. Employment services, leadership and business training, especially for the growing black underclass. You know, again, we're not discriminating at all, but there is a growing underclass of blacks who feel abandoned and confused about what role they play. I see it every day. I'm amazed at it, but it's a reality. And so, and then I think I heard Terrence mention, Pastor Todd, we have to ally with the schools and families and share social burdens. If you all had to mention a social burden, and if you're not sure what I mean, just kind of tweak it and ask me. But if we had to share a social burden, what would you rank the number one social burden you feel is here in Battle Creek? And we'll start with you as my host.
I would say the number one social burden would be trying to fit in. That black man trying to be in that realm where he thinks he should be. You know what I mean?
What would you say?
And you know, economically, without being judged, prejudged, or looked at.
Pastor, what'd you say?
I would say, there's several, but I would say a social burden would be the breakdown of the family. That is a burden, you know. I quite honestly, I have a somewhat of a short fuse with men or young men who don't step up to their responsibility. Because let's be honest, women don't get pregnant on their own. You know what I mean? So to plant your seed and walk away, I just find it hard to believe that anybody would want to do that. So anyway, the breakdown of the family, which also then denotes the fact that that family is more likely, or that single parent and that child is more likely to end up in poverty, which is, again, me being the director of Head Start, I see it all the time. So I would say that would be one of the main social burdens that I would see.
Marla, what would you say?
Well, I pretty much agree with DJ, also trying to fit in, because I see a lot of children, especially at the school where my daughter used to go to one public school, and now she goes to a different public school. I don't have to mention, but I was kind of skeptical about letting her go to the school she's in now, but she actually came to me and she says, Mom, she says she does great in school, great grades and everything, very social. She tries out for everything that comes up, so she's very outgoing. And she said, I will carry that on with me up to Central. She's now at Central. And she says, I love to fit in. She said, but at the school where I was at, everything I applied for, I was the only one of color. So she's like, it didn't stop me from going out for those things, but I'm just tired of being the only one of color every time I go out for something. And I just want to be amongst people of color.
But you don't go to the black school because what? What's wrong with going to the black school?
No, I didn't say anything was wrong.
No, I'm asking for the audience.
Okay, but
if I hear that, then I say, well, then go to the black school.
Okay, I didn't say anything was wrong with going to the black school.
And I'm not saying you said that.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
saying for the audience,
Yes.
you have people that say, I went to another school,
Yes.
but I don't fit in, so why not go back to the black school? What I'm trying to get is maybe there are challenges at that school. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
If I want to fit, why not go to where you're from? And that's not about you or your daughter. It's about, we're talking as a whole,
Right. But that's what made me decide to let her go to Central, because of the way she came to me and the reason why.
Okay.
If the reason would have been, I just want to go be with my friends, I would not have switched her over. I would have kept her where she's been since third grade, doing great, not having any problems anywhere. She still clicked with her other friends, after school. But if her reason would have been because I just want to be with my friends, I probably wouldn't have let her go. But because she talked to me the way she did and just verbalized the fact that she's tired of standing out. She wanted to fit in. So she still wants to go out for the society club. She still wants to go out for the drama club. She still wants to be and all of those things. But she just tired of standing out. She wants to be a part.
And what I was trying to do with Marla was I was trying to get the dialogue to come out. You could be in an all-black school and not fit in as a black person. I want to show people, because I think that's what Doug is saying, sometimes we just don't fit for other reasons. And the conversation is a need to be loved, a need to be liked, a need to fit. So that was what I was trying to create that dialogue. Was it more so of because I wanted to fit, or was it more so the institution didn't allow me to fit? That was what I was trying to figure out.
I think it was just personally with her.
Gotcha.
Yes. Gotcha. I think it was just personally.
I'm with you. Ronnie, what you think?
I think a great social burden for us is the way that drugs are in our community. Not only is it popular to sell drugs, but it's popular to be on drugs now. It's not a bad thing. People are proud that they drink lean.
Drink what?
It's called lean.
Lean.
Yeah.
L-E-A-N.
Yeah, it's like syrup and
never heard of it. Paris, you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Never.
Have you heard of Doug?
No, I've heard
Marla, you heard of it?
Yes.
They're proud of this stuff.
It's called lean. Now, what is lean?
Think about it.
The audience need to hear about lean. What is it?
I don't know much about it. I know it's a Sprite drink mixed with codeine, I believe.
Is that right?
And it's powerful. It's like heroin.
And young children.
And young children don't even know how powerful it actually is.
Okay, so I think we're on the same page there. Kingdom Builders, and I appreciate your support. We want to teach to enlighten rather than to preach to excite. How many times have we went to church just to be excited? But we need to start enlightening people, because I think where we've suffered in the church world is we excite everybody, but we don't enlighten everybody. Many go to church simply to get excited and then to walk away feeling good. Marla, we don't want to talk about our age, but me and you went to school close in the same time period. And when I was glad to see you, and I'm so happy you're a part of the ministry and the team. Tell us, because you're very intelligent, very bright, gifted in so many ways. What did we do differently that brought you? Because we want to remember that. We want to know what we did, because it wasn't like you could have went anywhere else. What was so different about this ministry, Marla, that made you even consider want to be a part?
Well, I have been searching for a church home for quite some time, and I've tried a couple, and it was just, I've always been a type of person who can, feel feel an atmosphere, or feel a warmth, or feel around and about people, and Just ever since I've been going to Kingdom Builders, I've just felt that warmth. I feel like this is where I belong. I don't like going somewhere and feeling like like we just said, a social burden, not feeling like you fit in. No, I don't feel that as Kingdom Builders. I feel like that's where I belong, and that's where I would like to be. Okay. And I can feel the scope, and I see the focus of what you're doing, and I would like to be a part of that.
Man, I'm happy. Yeah. Historically, societies were built upon 3 institutions that serve as pillars. Family, which Pastor Todd talks strong about, and be honest about it, it doesn't matter what political side you on, family is important.
Period.
Church, that was a part of the pillar.
Yes, sir.
And then the community. True communities are communities of mind and physical structure within space. Both are important, but no traditional society built a land that it did not own or control has been successful or prosper. Now, for me to hear in my community and in your community that there's a drink called what again?
Lean. Yeah.
Lean, there's a disconnect. See, we need to know what is happening in our communities so we can address these situations. And so, like Moses, all of us church people, we read our Bible, we must begin to build physical communities and maintain strong sense of community. How would you, Ronnie, and they want us to kind of talk a little louder, me probably a little lower, everybody else louder. How will we build physical communities and then maintain a strong sense of community? And then I'm going to come around, how do you build that community and then maintain it?
Well, I think you're on the right road. Just the way the Kingdom Builders is, people are hearing about how Kingdom Builders is. That's the start. There's but once you get them there, the preaching is what's going to change their lives. Okay. So I feel like you're on the right road, but we do need to get out, and so that we can meet with young people.
Okay.
We need to get out and know, so they know who we are and where we are.
Absolutely. Doug, what you think about that? Strong communities, building communities.
I think Ronnie was right, and it's consistency, You can't start something and maybe only do it, once or twice.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent, and it takes you to just kind of, keep going and persevere. I mean, there's going to be some disconnects. There's going to be some roadblocks.
Yeah.
And some potholes, in your journey. But at Kingdom Builders, it's all about being consistent. I think that's what we'll do. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Definitely hear the word. Which is going to change your life. The more you get into God, the more you start studying, and the more you hear the word, it affects your life. But they need something else. It's not just Sunday morning. Monday through Friday. What is it that's going to keep these people strong, or these youths coming back? And I think that being consistent is very important.
Because I'm looking at the young people, and I'm convinced, I don't believe young people are just bad. I don't think they're against the church. I just think they don't see it being relevant.
Mm-hmm. There you
Absolutely.
go.
Yeah.
I think they're saying is, why did he go? Why do I have to give an hour and a half of my Sunday? What's the relevancy? And we have to become relevant. Now I want to bring in, again, Pastor Todd he's like our community political guy. He will, be the one that will inform information so we can be intelligent. We are, from a church perspective, and those that's been following me and attending the different town hall meetings, we are trying to practice a politics of gaining resources rather than politics of just morality and establishing civil rights. Because the truth is, your morality should come from the church and God.
True, that's right. That's
okay?
right.
But politics, we want to get some resources. We know that those who own and control resources have both rights and might.
That's right.
And been for so long, we never control nothing. And
That's
because we
right.
don't control nothing, we don't have any say-so. And so we have two major race, Pastor Todd, I believe it's 2nd District,
62nd.
62nd District. Educate us for about 3-4 minutes. What does a 62nd District does, and what would be some of the things we should look for when I'm not into candidate yet. Just
Right.
educate us on that 62nd District and what can that position do to better and benefit what we're trying to accomplish. Then we'll talk about the candidates who can maybe meet those needs.
Right.
So educate us on that.
Well, I really appreciate it. First of all, the 62nd District is comprised of Albion, Battle Creek, Springfield, the cities. But then they also have Bedford, Penfield Township, Converse Township, all the way over to Albion. So it's really a northern border of townships throughout Calhoun County. The 62nd District, which kind of wraps around the 63rd, so Marshall is not a part of that district. And so the importance of people, what people got to understand is that your district has a representative that literally goes to the state house, which is our person is Dr. John Bison right now. He's our state representative, and that is our voice. That is our avenue to state government, whether it's legislation or whatever. Anything we need to get accomplished at the state level to impact the local level, that's who we go through. That will be our
And never
voice.
to assume, state level is Lansing.
That's right, it's Lansing,
So
absolutely.
Just be real. Talk to us as if we know absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. So anyway, so at the state level, yeah, that is in Lansing. That is at the state capitol, where I had the honor of actually working. As a matter of fact, I know when I was out talking or whatever, I was helping people understand that I was really the first African American to go, and it took Dr. Bison to take me with him, for that to happen. And my time and my tenure there, and now my wife works in his office, so my time and tenure there, I've learned a whole lot about how things impact. And so what happens is that what I've been able to do is come back to this community on his behalf, or on that office behalf, or the 62nd District's behalf, and educate our children. Because one thing I did do is come back, and I went to the Urban League and I taught them about the process of how to get a bill passed and stuff like that. So people got to understand that when it comes to taxes, when it comes to property, when it comes to things that really impact the local level, and what we can do here at the local level, a lot of that is impacted by the state and federal. Federal meaning being in Washington, D.C. And so, but a lot of stuff that we shoot for is more on the local level. So you can get some things done pretty much at the state level, which is in Lansing, for the most part, because a lot of our issues are really on the local level anyway. You know what I mean? And
So let me ask you this, because I know my time we're starting moving real fast,
Yeah.
and I want to think about the hearts of the people, and we can all kind of join in. If I don't do nothing wrong, I don't break no laws, I work
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
I don't need no aids, assistance, what can the 62nd District do for point A? If I'm this guy that's in legal trouble and in and out of jail, what can 62nd District do for me? Or if I'm having issues where I live at, no jobs available.
Yeah.
Give me
There you
the
go.
real hard. If I got people smoking, drinking this Sprite or whatever he said, what can 62nd? I need to know, because this is what I want my followers to do. Once we find out what we need, then we're going to look at the two candidates that's running and see if they can give us what we want. Because that's how a block works. We want to bring in 300, 400, 500 people, and we're going to vote for one candidate who's doing what we think will better our community. But we need to know what we need.
Yes.
Right.
See, that's one of our problems in the community. We always complain. What do we need? And so Tara's job is to give us the knowledge of the things we need. I mean, what do we need? Before you respond, is there something, Marla, you think we need? Doug, Ronnie, what do we need other than the fact that, God's going to make a way, but what do we need so we know what to ask for?
Yeah.
Because I'm putting the machine together, but I don't know what to ask for.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's kind of it's a simple question, but it's like so many things that's coming to my head and how to put it out to you. As far as our children, number one, with Michigan being number 2 in child abductions, I believe. You know, we need to put it back in our children that they are safe. You know, we need to let them know that, you know, because like you said, when we were growing up, we were okay with riding our bikes at night, you know, making it home.
Yeah.
But now kids are so scared, you know, they have to have a ride. You know, if they don't have a ride, they, you know, they're scared.
Is that something
you know, so
that department work on? Is that something? Is that something?
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, the 62nd district. I mean, that state representative. I mean, they would have built some relationships on the local level with law enforcement.
Okay.
What she was saying about feeling safe. So really law enforcement, and then on the local level, you can then engage probably more of like a neighborhood watch or some kind of a watch system. And at the state level, you can literally potentially have some financial pieces earmarked for those type of things. You know what I mean? And for case in point, for example, Albion was struggling with education. So they had to eventually annex their school district in with Marshall. How did that happen? Well, because the state rep and the state senator came together, got the money earmarked, and then to make that happen, they got like over $6 million allocated to make that happen. You know what I mean? So when we talk about 62nd also, but keep in mind that 62nd district person is only one of 110.
Exactly.
You know
I got you. But at least we got somebody to represent us.
That's right. Yeah. At least you got somebody with a voice that has a seat at the table.
Right.
And usually, and I will say this, and usually what happens is that whoever's in the majority usually have a seat at the table because they have a lot more influence.
And we go further on that subject
later. You go further
later.
on that. You know what I mean?
So let me bring this out. I'm asking my audience because this election is going to be when?
November.
What I would like for this team to do, and those that's following me, make Battle Creek great again at gmail.com. Write, type, send things you want the candidate to do for us. Okay? Give me a list. You see those on this panel, you know folks at Kingdom Building, let them know. We're going to comprise a list. We're going to run it by Pastor Todd to see if that's part of his job description, meaning 62nd district. And then what we do is we bring finances behind.
Yeah.
I mean, black people, but not just black folk, white, everybody, but black folks for sure. We want everybody in the office, but we don't put a dime in that campaign. Mm-hmm. We want, come on, you ain't did nothing. You didn't put a dime in my campaign.
Right. Help me win. You didn't come on. Whoa.
You didn't put a sign in my yard.
Yes.
Y'all, nothing happens without an economic base. I hate to be critical, but back in the day, the whole mafia concept, you know what? They rented the politicians or they bought them.
Yes, sir. Period.
And why worry about you? Y'all mad at Trump. You didn't put Trump in office, so why you think Trump didn't listen to you? You didn't put a dime in his campaign, and you mad because he won't listen to you. Please. Okay, another subject. So let's continue on with that thought.
You got an ear at the table.
Yeah. You got exactly.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's important we start doing that. Let's start dialoguing. Pastor Todd is that political liaison to help us out, and then you have Marlon, and then you have, of course, Doug Jones and Ronnie. Individuals that you know, start sharing because we can't, complain if we don't know what we want. And we have to be able to intelligently share some things. Yeah. I believe I was talking to someone, matter of fact, Mr. Boulder, he was in one of my classes today, about 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and he was impressed with this information, so I want to share this information. In 1832, Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote and published an Uncle Tom Cabin, which was reputed to have been based on the real life of an escaped black slave named Johansen Henson. The book became a national and international bestseller, selling over 300,000 copies within the first year. In spite of the book's popularity, many of the book's white critics challenged the book's authenticity, meaning was it legit? In the state of Maryland, where Johansen Henson was born in 1789, the book was banned, and one free black was sentenced to 10 years in prison just for owning a copy. Witnessing this kind of abusive treatment treated on black people, especially his parents, was the driving force in his life. He wanted out slavery, and he decided to escape to Canada on October 28th, 1830. He devoted much of his life helping other black escape. Years later, while passing through Andover, Massachusetts, he met with and told his story to Harriet Beecher Stowe. Rather than writing a book entitled Uncle Henson Cabin, she changed it to Uncle Tom Cabin. Now, the reason why I share this information is one thing in education, we've been misinformed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
About so much. We've been told that, Uncle Tom was a bad guy, That they may call Terrence Todd Uncle Tom.
Right.
Just because Terrence Todd has joined by his own right that God gave him to be on a Republican side. But Uncle Tom may have been a passive guy, may have been a very religious guy, but he cared about the slaves.
Yes, sir.
It was Sambo that was telling everything to the master. So if you concern, his name is Sambo.
That's right.
Okay, so we got some Sambos that's hurting us.
Yes.
So if somebody call you Uncle Tom, tell him thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, he may not be as aggressive, but he wanted to make sure the slaves were treated fairly. I'm concerned about the miseducation.
Yeah.
Why is it, y'all, that now we're in our 50s and late 40s, and we're realizing, wow, it's a whole lot I didn't learn. How did that make you feel, Ronnie, and what can we do differently about that?
I feel like some of the stuff that you taught recently, I was like, how is it that I didn't know that?
You got good grades, you said. You were smart. You graduated with honors. Go ahead.
What was it? The benign.
The benign with the Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Benign neglect.
So that left me wondering, like, well, why didn't somebody like Jesse Jackson? Why wasn't he informing us? Who is he? Who is he really to us? Is what I start questioning.
Good point.
Because he obviously knew about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, it feels like we've been crippled in a way. Yeah.
The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. The day you get purchased, the day you close to a Sambo.
Yes, sir.
It's about life. You really can't, once you, but go ahead. Barlow, what you think about some of this miseducation that has happened all these years, and talk about those things?
Well, at first I would get upset. I did, I will say. Especially when you would enlighten me on a lot of things that I thought I knew, and I used to get mad, but now I get excited. Now I get excited because I am learning the truth, and I am learning new things, and I'm able to pass it on to my kids and my grandkids, and it's teaching them the right things. Because to tell you the truth, the history that we were taught, it was sad. It was sad, and it was heart-wrenching, and it was demeaning, and and then to find out that really, we really were kings and queens and beautiful and strong, and it feels good to be able to pass that on and say, hey, that's not the way it really was.
Right.
So I love the fact that I was taught wrong, because it's making a new me now, because I'm learning the truth.
That's good stuff. Doug, as you know, we're going to be moving in sometime in February and March, and you have been refereeing for years. You have coached. You was a very successful basketball player in your own right. Terrence Todd, you did some karate back in the day and played football in your own right. How effective do you all think a AAU program or just a youth program is needed? I mean, what's your take? We're gonna have a nice gym. The facility is awesome. How you think that can impact? And what about introducing karate? What do y'all think about bringing? I know the Bible says exercise profit little, but it does profit something.
Yes.
How much importance you feel that is for our community? Doug and then Terrace.
I think it's very important. I know there's a AAU team in Battle Creek called Serial City, and the coaches, Michael Whitaker, and some other young men in the community do a very good job, coaching these kids. Travel teams are very popular. and especially in the summertime. And I go to Lansing, I go to Fort Wayne, I go to different states, mainly staying in the state of Michigan, and it's very good for the kids to get out there and compete, and it gives them a sense of worth. Kids sleep, eat, drink basketball, which is good. It gives them something to do. It keeps them off the streets. It gives them some hope. I think a basketball program or any program that gets a lot of kids involved is a good thing. Okay. It teaches them discipline. It teaches them respect. It gives them some honor, some pride. Right. And I think it's very important. You don't see a lot of that in Battle Creek. One thing that is very disappointing to me is, you see all these teams around Battle Creek and, Lakeview, Harper Creek, Marshall. They have, these girls programs. And I don't see Battle Creek girls, because back in the day, basketball was a big thing. Right. When Terry Walker was playing, right. and Sherelle, we used to love to go to the girls' basketball games, and they were pretty good. And they don't start playing until they're in high school sometimes, or late in middle school. But you see a lot of these kids playing when they're in the 4th and 5th grade. Right. So I think I would love to see programs for young men and young women. Young girls in Battle Creek. Gotcha. Maybe that's something that we can do, because you see it all the time.
Well, but then since you're so knowledgeable about it, then that's something we're going to have to do, because that is needed. Mm-hmm. I was talking to Michael, no, not Michael, what's his name? I was talking to Mr. Nunley. Mm-hmm. Mr. Todd, Mr. Nunley. Mr. Nunley has a little job at the school system, Bearcat Watch or something. Yeah. He was my karate teacher. Mine too. And he remembered me a little bit, so I started doing my little, and he mentioned your name. Uh-huh. So, do they still offer karate nowadays? Is that even available?
Well, yeah, Doug Walker, he's the instructor at the Battle Creek Y Center.
So that's a different kind of karate, because we had Korean karate.
No, that's the same school.
Is it?
Yeah, Mudokwan Tang Sudo. Yep. Doug
no,
Walker.
I wasn't in Mudokwan Tang Sudo. I was in Korean karate.
Well, that is Korean. Yeah, Tang Sudo. It is Korean.
But the colors were different.
Oh, as far as the belt color?
Yeah.
Yeah, the instructor gets to decide on that.
Is that right?
Yeah. The color structure,
so
whatever.
So, Terrence, how far did you go?
I'm black belt.
What?
Yeah, I've been a black belt since, 08?
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Not too many people know that. I had to show some of my staff. They were like, you I said, man, I went to state and won state.
Yeah.
Won a state.
Yeah, my son's a black belt, and I went to red belt. Yeah. I got the revelation and got out and did something different.
But Doug Walker, but Doug Walker, right. Because see, back then you had Nunley, and then you also had Dwight Williamson and
Yes.
So Doug and Irene and those guys had come up through Dwight, and then we came up through Mike Nunley. Yeah.
Didn't they say Booker Barbie? He's also
Booker Barbie?
Black. Yes, Booker Barbie. The older guy.
He
was just in the paper some few months ago. For achieving, I think, black belt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. So before we come to our closing, how much time you say I got, producer?
10 minutes.
We're really in a situation, y'all, that I mean, man, you can imagine how many people come talk to me, and I can almost look at them and say, well, look at all these mistakes you made. It's kind of hard, You come in and you want rent money, but then you spend all your money, and you've had money. Somewhere, how do we become that training ground? And we got 10 minutes, so everybody take about 2 minutes. DJ, you the senior pastor of Kingdom Builders Worldwide, you got a following. Man, what would you do? Terrence Todd, you the pastor, Kingdom Builders Worldwide. What would you do? Marla, you're the pastor. Ronnie, you're the pastor. How do we fix? Let me pick a topic, and you as the pastor tell me what would you do differently. All right, for you, Doug, how would you get that young man to realize getting all these girls pregnant is going to hurt him in the end? What would you do?
First, I have to convince him to listen to me. Somehow I have to get his attention. He's got to like me. He's got to trust me. Because if he don't trust you, he's not going to listen to you. For one, And then once you get him to trust you, then you have to use some influence and some talk, and then get somebody else involved. Young people are very skeptical today. And like you said, they don't just, they want to know, why should I listen to you? Why should you be the one to tell me what I need to know? And at some point, they have to acknowledge the fact that they do need some guidance, and they do need some assistance. How do you do that? You got to be consistent. You got to You got to let them know that you care. Okay. If they don't think you care, it doesn't matter what you do.
Okay. I got 5 minutes, y'all, so y'all got to go to 1 now. Entitlement. How'd you deal with entitlement, Pastor? Entitlement. Everybody got entitlement.
Everybody got entitlement. Well, first of all, it's all in training, man. It's the expectation to help people understand that life is about sowing and reaping. You know, you get out what you put in, and that is a law. God is a God of principle, and so if you feel like you're entitled, tell me, why do you feel that way? Because you've put nothing in. You know what I mean? So that's how I would handle that in a nutshell. And it starts with as a child. You know, like my daughters, for example, they know that my wife and I have high expectations of them, whether it's in school, whether it's at church, or around the house. And so, I mean, you know, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So they know what the standard is. So again, you get out what you put in. So training that, we'll be all right on that in that regard, I guess.
Marlon, teen pregnancy. Y'all got about 30 seconds apiece. Sorry about that.
Oh, teen pregnancy.
Teen pregnancy.
I would just scare the life out of them. Just tell them, listen, you have kids, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. You're gonna be able to enjoy yourself. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're not gonna be. You love those nice dresses and those nights you won't be able to even, you know, just let them know. Everything from this point on is going to go to the child. Don't ask me to buy you nothing, you know. It's kind of funny, but it's the truth. You know, well, Ma, how come you didn't buy me no new, you have a child now. I'm not buying you anything else anymore. It's for the, you know, kind of spook them at the same time, educate them.
Drugs. Drugs. Young people, drugs. What would you say?
Wow, that's hard. I don't know, because I mean they know the effects of them. That's a hard question, because they know the effects of drugs. They're not the generation before when people were doing crack. They didn't exactly know what that was.
Right.
You know, these kids have seen it. So I know that's a hard question.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, y'all, this is an awesome show. We got to come back again. You know, one thing you're supposed to have as a people, if you're going to network with power, everybody's supposed to have a map to know where you are. Today we learned about some math. We learned about some choices. Well, Marlon told you up front, you get pregnant, no more gifts for you.
Nothing.
Entitlement is huge. You know, he said, hey, you know what? Why should you have anything? What have you earned? What have you did? So I appreciate that. Every home is supposed to have a map in the globe. You're supposed to have 2 things. Every home is supposed to have a watch and a calendar, because you have to know what time it is, and you have to know where you fit in space. That's important. You know what? Today was a great show because we've heard about some powerful advice, some wisdom, and we'll always be a church that not just work on your emotions, but to work on data, to work on facts, to work on principles. Chronicle chapter 12, verse 32. The sons of Issachar who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. Listen, I know Change Is Gonna Come is not a gospel song, but Sam Cooke had a good choice there, y'all. We need to know a change gonna come, but the change is gonna come because of you and I. Let's have a word of prayer. My co-host is having some challenges, so we're gonna, I guess, excuse them in prayer. So come on, let's grab hands right now, and we're gonna just pray that God would just continue to guide us. Father, we thank you for your love, for your kindness, for your tender mercy. We thank you for our guests. We thank you for our friends. Nobody's a guest. Friends, brothers. Marla, for your words of wisdom. Pastor Todd, for your knowledge and wisdom you bring to the table all the time. Brother Ronnie, your words of wisdom. And our co-host, Doug Jones. God, we thank you for what you have done and what you're going to do as you implement us into the city of Battle Creek. We're going to build, transform, and change. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.